Okay, another weekend in the shop trying to get some progress made. I thought I'd start with, I hadn't opened this great big AMD box yet, which is the front floor pan for the 68 Dart. So I just cut the sides and glanced in to see how it was packaged, and I thought maybe I'd film it real quick just to show how AMD does it, which is pretty good. So far we've got a rear seat pan, trunk pan, and both outer rockers. Trying to think of what else. Inner and outer wheel tubs. They're wheel houses. So, well, actually outers. I've got reusing some inners from another donor car that are in good shape. But anyway, the point is everything's been in great shape so far. Everything's fit well, but nothing's been beat up. With regard to the packaging, it's all been pretty darn good. And most of the other two pans were packaged similarly, but this one's bigger, of course. So just good to see. So they've got a bunch of stacked, I don't know what you call it, but it's thick cardboard with kind of a honeycomb inside of it. I don't suppose it's a good inch thick anyway. But then, of course, bubble wrap. And then see if that'll just pull off. Probably won't. We'll tear it off. So the underside, of course, nothing dinged up from that side. And if I've referenced the tape that's put on them before, it's some of it right there. So I like to tape their bubble wrap on, which I suppose is a good thing. There's the top side, shinier side. Looks like we've got some, what are those? Seat brackets? I'm self-educating as we go here as well, so these are boy, I think it's the seat reinforcement. So there's brackets on the top, which look just like the factory ones. For the inners, right here and here, then I'll be dead honest, I'm not sure what that is yet. But this is a floor shift car, so there'll be some console brackets that I have to transfer over through the center. But in general, I'll pin down exactly what these are. But in general, it's perfect. I don't see, sometimes you'll get panels and I've got even a little replacement for patches and stuff that, the corner of the boxes are dropped and the corners are beat up. But I don't see anything out of shape here so far. Obviously, it looks like the factory one, but all the other panels so far have fit really well and it's really just slid into place. I'm sure, these are flat pans, so it's not that big of a fitment issue. Once we get to the quarter panels or even the outer rockers, which I haven't been to yet, there's going to be a little bit of massaging on especially on the edges where everything wraps together. And then, of course, getting door fitment, etc. But in general, pretty darn good. And here I'll In a minute, I'm going to move to grab the camera here, but working on the, speaking of the existing inner fenders or inner wheelhouses. See if I can wiggle this around to my messy shop. But see, I'm getting a little tutelage there with Rust Bucket Restos up on the TV there. But at any rate, the donor inner wheel, rear wheelhouse. See my needle scaler laying there. This is nothing new. A lot of people do it this way, but the factory undercoating that is on a lot of the underneath of these, and it's real thick here, but it's old, obviously. 6 years old at this point. So just real quick, I'm not gonna do it all on camera, but see how well this works. That's just real quick, and you can see that light green of the original donor car, but no dimples. If you sit in one spot and hammer it, it's gonna, eventually you'll see a little bit of dimpling, especially under here. It's not gonna matter even then, but I've done a bunch of the donor frame was all undercoated, and the other inner wheelhouse, and that right there, just that quick. So versus heating up and scraping and all that, really arduous and messy. This is messy enough, but it's all dry and crusty. So boom, pops right off. Works great. So you can see this one's been, the outer was just cut off it. And so if you're familiar, there's spot welds here and there. That's easy to get off, but the inner flange is still there from the other wheelhouse, but there's a whatever it's really called, I call it a zipper spot weld along here, which is really just a rolling spot weld, and it's like almost looks like a crimp through there. And that's really the tedious part, because there's probably a better idea, but all I'm doing is I'll cut on either side of that, and if there's there's some spot welds here, we'll drill those out as per typical, but get on both sides of that and then really just take a sanding disc and burn off that zipper weld spot, because it's constant. So there's no, with a spot weld you can hit here and then just pop the panel off. But with that being constant that way, I have not devised a better method. I don't think it's magic. It's just literally glued together at a constant seam. So anyway, we'll get that off, and then for the moment anyway, this looks like a good enough piece to reuse. It's not rusty all the way to the bottom. Obviously you can see where the old spot welds were drilled out. Looks in pretty good shape. So with that, we'll get that working, then we'll of course blast it and get the hinge all shined up. And then ultimately we'll have a fresh piece to put on top of it. So those will mend together. I've got the other one started a lot further along. So we've got some alignment holes, these tabs up top and on the front. Well, there's three. And so far on that one, they've lined up real well. And just laying this on top, you can see that those holes are about lined up. So it looks like they're gonna equally fit just as nicely. So we'll get that all trued up, and the next step's gonna be getting everything test fit up in. Now that we've got the frame rails and the floor pans up in there, in this area, right done all that package tray structure, cross bracing, and the quarter structure that comes down and sits on top of the outer. that's all in there now. So I need to get them test fit, and there's likely a little massaging that needs to be done with all the flanges up in there, and that'll just be the little test fitting. And I think for now I'm going to screw everything together. It may be Cleco, but one way or the other temporarily hold everything in place. Just for all the advice that I can see everywhere is once I get these quarters cut off, then the new one's going back on. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of adjustment, and if that, at the very least, if the outer is loose, it's going to be a lot easier to fine tune. Even here with the factory, the alignment holes are, that's off, 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. That one up top looks about perfect, but they squeeze a little bit, and of course there's just ever so slightly, if you want to clock it around that wheel opening, probably will make the quarter fit easier, if nothing else, without having to cut and splice that outer wheelhouse. The inner, obviously it's going up against the seat pan and the rocker, so and in the back of the trunk pan, I guess, but should be a little more straightforward on that side. So we'll get to working on that and update here in a little bit. All right, I had to wait for the compressor to shut off so I could show the end game. Anyway, that was, I'll probably speed this up in the video to keep down the boredom, but bottom line is that was about 5 minutes worth of work. It's, not perfect. It's still some remnant in there, and I can sit there and let it rattle lightly and it'll start popping that stuff off, but come through there with a Scotch-Brite or something, that's going to come right off. You can see the difference there between there's the seam between the old outer that we'll cut off. So kind of tell that, well, that's darn near a 1/4 inch thick right there. So that stuff pops right off. And look, if it's gooey stuff, some sort of aftermarket undercoating, maybe it's newer or not as brittle, so probably won't work for everything, but I know seam sealer, it sometimes is brittle, sometimes isn't. So I definitely burned some off of that car when I was taking it apart and trying not to destroy everything that I was separating. So anyway, down there is all of the, that's one inner wheelhouse full of undercoating. One of those big dustpans. It's a lot of mess, but pretty quick way to do it. So I'm going to get back onto some other things today, and we'll get back to it, but thanks for watching for now. Well, after all that sandblasting and clogging up and freezing fingertips, we're kind of done. Not bad. But it does show that the kind of see some of the little better condition, or better shots of the condition anyway. These things are going to work just fine. Once they get sandwiched together, that makes up for all the There's just a couple little imperfections here and there, but it's all in the where it's going to be mated up and welded to another piece. So, you know, a little crack here, we'll get that welded up, and little spot here, but that's going to have the outer right next to it. So probably put a little piece of metal in there regardless, but so we can start test fitting and getting them set up in there. All right, just real quick before I get these cut off here, I'll show the different styles of A-body hinges. There's the hinge off the 68, and here's the hinge on the donor. These inner wheel houses just came with this car when I got it. The previous owner had the same or similar intentions. So these were with it, but a few different styles of A-body hinges, and this is taller. So we'll get those taken off and ultimately put the 68 hinges on this inner wheelhouse. The wheelhouse itself is exactly the same. So there's the difference. All right, got it all test fit. Just sitting up in there. Guess what you can see is it's fitting darn well. To be honest, I was a little nervous. Everything that I did with the inner structure there, that's the weld through primer that's up there, all that was in a couple different pieces that was cut off before with the wheel tubs. So I measured everything, made templates, but you never know until you get everything in there. So sitting real good, fit well from that side. Bring it around to the front side. We're seeing similar. Now real quick underneath, you gotta ever so slightly adjust it with the floor pan that's in there, but real close. And then not much to see there, but the inner structure, it's all lined up real well. But probably the bigger item is right where that package tray brace comes from the quarter there. Everything is sitting really nice there. It's obviously pulled away from the inner structure a little bit there, but a couple Tech screws before welding and it'll pull nice and tight. Sitting real close to the pan. So once we get it screwed together, it's just has two clamps on it right now. So once we get that screwed together, it'll look good. That is it for today. So thanks for checking it out. See you next time.